I am Amoka Mom, and I am back with my impressions of the new Sound of Music special that aired on NBC last night. We actually watched it together as a family. Typically, it's difficult for us to find something that everyone's interested in watching because of my kids' different ages and interests, because of the Christmas mood and spirit of us trying to find things to do together. We watched it and had a good time, but it was such an interesting experience. Everyone wasn't in the room at the same time, so as different people came in, we had similar experiences. First of all, I thought it was a very difficult project to undertake because the movie is so well known and so beloved. And just as Julie Andrews embodied the role of Mary Poppins, she was Mary Poppins, she was Maria. And when you think of Maria, when I read the book, it was Julie Andrews that I pictured, and she's such a tremendous talent. Her voice back then was just so beautiful and so amazing, and she sang in a way that was so effortless. It didn't seem like she was thinking about it at all, and she was able to move and dance and act all at the same time in a way that comes across as very effortlessly. And so the minute we started watching the movie, Julie Andrews was in our minds. And so I felt it for Carrie Underwood, who's a talent in her own right. But when she stepped out there, I said to myself, why is that braid on her head? Maria doesn't have braids like that, even though her style was very appropriate for the time period that she was representing. But the braid kept bothering him. Get that braid off her head. I want the cute little short hairstyle. And in the opening scene when she's singing that song, the Hills Are Alive song, as she was singing and concentrating, the first thing we all said is, oops, she tripped. She missed her step a little bit, and her voice shook a little bit, and we were on it. And part of it was, you know, Julie Andrews' flawless performance when she did it. And also, to be fair, Julie Andrews' version was a movie, and this kind of live type of broadcast that they did for The Sound of Music has its own limitations, whereas I'm sure Julie Andrews was able to do many takes, and it was filmed in a different way, and the lighting and everything was different, the sound. So in all fairness, I do think that Carrie Underwood did a good job. I love the sets. I thought they were very pretty. I like the way that they chose to focus on different aspects of the film, so that even though they didn't play every single segment, they found a creative way to make the set remind you of that segment so you didn't feel like the segment was missing. An example was that while they didn't do the puppet, scene, um, after the Baroness comes to meet the kids, there's this big puppet scene with the father, and he kind of gets to show off his kids' skills. They didn't have that in the movie. However, they kind of combined that thought with the scene where it's raining and thundering, and the kids all run into Maria's room, and they kind of really bond for the first time. And they use like the skirt of the bed skirt, to kind of imitate the puppet scene. And that, because they were singing that song, it all gave you that whole feeling. Another thing that bothered us was, we've watched the original so many times. Why are they singing this song here? And what's this song? This song wasn't in it. And why did they do it this way? But it still all worked. I loved the Abbey scenes. We were pleasantly surprised to see, wow, the Mother Abbess is black. And when you don't see yourself that much in classic movies like this, although it may not have been realistic, it was really nice to see her. And what a beautiful voice Audra McDonald has. We just oohed and awed at her voice. Audra McDonald handled it. I loved her looks and her camaraderie with Carrie Underwood, and how everything came across. And The differences in their race didn't really communicate as being problematic, but I do love the sort of kind of black flavor that she added to the part. Now the captain, Captain Von Trapp, I don't know if back then it's just a matter of the the aura that people of that age had, the classiness that they brought, or if it was just the style of the time. But it feels more contrived when people today do it. And I remember looking at the captain and not thinking that he was quite as dignified as the original Captain Von Trapp. But he did a good job too. When he picked up the guitar to sing, I was like, he is not singing at the level of the other singers. But then I remembered that the original actor wasn't necessarily the most amazing singer either, so maybe they went along with that vein. One thing about the love story between Captain and Maria, it seemed like they met, he left, and they let it be known that he'd be gone for a month. He came back. There was half a scene and boom, they're madly in love. And I didn't really buy that. Since I knew what the story was before, I was like, okay, yeah, yeah, whatever. But I don't think they did a good job of flowing into that. But I loved the choreography. I enjoyed Baroness Schrader, Laura Benanti, I believe her name is. I thought she did a really good job. I really like the way they use facial expressions to kind of convey what a person's character is like, and like the side looks at the end of the scene as they're walking off the stage and nobody else is looking. She was perfectly a sweet angel in this scene, but now in that scene, as she's walking off the stage, she makes this look and you're like, oh, she's evil. I love that about theater, um, which you don't get to see as much in movies. I enjoyed Max Detweiler a lot. I like the way Christian Borle portrayed him. He was one of my favorite characters in the original movie, and I thought this guy did just as good of a job and grabbed my heart in exactly the same way. And so the kids were cute and adorable. Loved the singing for Liesel and the dancing. I thought it was very cute how they did that scene in the woods. Uh, the roll down the hill was, to me, kicking it up a notch as far as quote unquote romance in the way we do things these days. Of course, it didn't touch the original, but they did a really good job.